Part the man in the shadows. Tel Aviv mornings were a strange paradox. While the sky shone bright, shadows hid in the city's alleys. Everyone had a rush, some were hurrying to work, some to get their children to school. But some weren't rushing anywhere. Because they had no time left. Yitzhak was one of these timeless souls. He was 57. He hadn't looked in the mirror for so long that he didn't know how deep the wrinkles on his face had become. The jacket on his back was navy blue when he first started wearing it 3 years ago. Now it was a mixture of grey, brown, and dust. People in the city did not recognize him. But he knew every corner, every trash bin's emptying schedule. And which market packaged leftover bread. Once, he had a workshop. He gave life to wood. Chairs and tables made by his hands brought happiness to homes. Until life collapsed the day he lost his son. One accident. One moment. Everything changed forever. That day, Yitzhak realized that something was lost forever. His son Avi was hit by a truck while riding his motorcycle to school. Caught in the blind spot. What remained was his school bag, a notebook, and an unopened letter. Dad, I scored 100 on the exam. I'm proud of you. He carried that letter in his pocket for years. Torn in places, but still marked with Yitzhak's fingerprints. After Avi's death, his wife Miriam chose silence. Their conversations shrank to yes and no. Then one morning, Yitzhak woke to find Miriam gone. On the kitchen table was a small note. You still look for our son in this house. I have accepted his absence. I am leaving. That day, Yitzhak also left. There was no longer a home in that house. He began searching for a new life in Tel Aviv's backstreets. At first, he spent nights in parks. Then in municipal shelters. Over time, he realized he belonged nowhere, yet existed everywhere. People didn't see him. But he saw everything. Part the man who came. One morning, Yitzhak sat on a bench near Rabin Square. The sky was hazy, but the city was waking in a hurry. The traffic noise, the hum of coffee shops. The wheels of simit vendors, all familiar. But that morning, something was different. Police cars surrounded the square. Plainclothes officers spoke into earpieces. Black-windowed vehicles lined up. Guards scanned the area. Yitzhak couldn't understand. Probably a political rally. But the crowd was more cautious. Like a TV scene. Then, seeing the man stepping out of a car, he squinted. It was him. The man Yitzhak knew from television. Whose posters had been torn many times. Whose name was talked about in every street, Benjamin Netanyahu. People kept their distance. Guards formed a circle. But Netanyahu paused for a moment and locked eyes with Yitzhak. Perhaps only for a few seconds. Maybe less. But that gaze startled Yitzhak. Something happened. Netanyahu turned to his guards. I will speak with him, he said. Sir, we advise against it. I will not be afraid to extend my hand. Please, Netanyahu insisted. Yitzhak didn't know what to say. You must be mistaken, his cracked voice said. No. I'm in the right place. What's your name? Yitzhak. May I shake your hand, Yitzhak? Yitzhak nodded involuntarily. His cold, cracked hands were swallowed by Netanyahu's smooth palm. Silence lasted a few seconds. Would you like to have a meal with me? Netanyahu asked. Yitzhak laughed. With you? Why not? Because I'm nobody. Just a man on the street. No, said Netanyahu. You remind me of the most important thing, humanity. Part at the soup table. Yitzhak followed Netanyahu to a small nearby cafe. The security team was surprised, the staff uneasy. But Netanyahu insisted, please, let no one approach this table. This is a private conversation. Yitzhak felt uneasy sitting down. He hadn't spoken face to face like this for 10 years. Especially not with a prime minister. He only knew him from TV. A figure loved or hated by many. But somehow unreachable. Now, he was at the same table. When the waiter came, Netanyahu looked directly at Yitzhak. "What would you like?" "A soup," said Yitzhak. "Anything else?" "No. Just soup." "The same soup for me, please," said Netanyahu. After the waiter left, Netanyahu touched the salt shaker and asked, "How long have you been here? In this city? Or on this bench?" "Both. I was born in Tel Aviv." "On this bench?" 3 years. He paused. "But no one sees me. I am invisible." "Today you were seen." Yitzhak squinted. "Why?" Netanyahu thought for a moment. "For 3 days I have passed by here in the morning. Same bench, same posture, same emptiness in your eyes. But every time I saw your eyes, they reminded me of my father." "Your father?" Netanyahu took a deep breath. "Yes. He was strong, he stood tall. But his eyes sometimes looked far away, as if he saw things no longer in this world. I saw those eyes in yours." When the soup arrived, silence fell. Only the sound of spoons. Their lives two extremes sipping from the same bowl. This silence brought a peace Yitzhak hadn't felt in years. When Netanyahu finished, he pulled a small notebook from his inner jacket pocket. "Yitzhak," he said, "if you agree, I want to enroll you in a social support program. Medication, shelter, ID. Everything to start anew." "It's hard to believe," said Yitzhak. "I've heard a lot, but seen little." Netanyahu locked eyes with him. "I promise. This isn't just help. It's a new beginning. 4-part dirty identity, clean hope." The next morning, 2 officers from Netanyahu's office took Yitzhak. First to a public hospital. A long checkup, blood tests, lung x-rays. Doctors were amazed at his health. "A miracle to have survived on the streets for so long," one said. Then, to the city's emergency shelter. Clean clothes, a warm bed. Yitzhak couldn't sleep the first night. The silence was so deep he could hear his heartbeat. In that silence, he cried. For the first time in years. Within 2 weeks, his ID was reinstated. Old population records were updated. Health insurance, social aid card, even a temporary transport pass were issued. Netanyahu personally followed the process. Every night, his advisor sent reports. What did Yitzhak do today? Did a therapist speak with him? Does he still feel alone? Each night, files were updated. One evening, the advisor asked, "Sir, amidst so many political crises, why is this man so important to you?" Netanyahu replied, "Because the greatness of a country is measured by how it treats its weakest. Helping him is healing this nation's soul." Part the carpenter's return. After several weeks at the shelter, Yitzhak's hands met wood again. A staff member who learned his past enrolled him in a city-supported creative workshop program. It was a place where homeless but talented people could create, reviving their lives with art and craft. The smell of wood took Yitzhak back 30 years. The small toy car he made for Avi's first birthday. The scent of sawdust brought tears to his eyes. But he didn't cry. He had no time to cry. He had to start over. He worked 6 days a week. Sometimes small tables, sometimes wooden toys, kitchen accessories. But most important was an idea that came to him one morning. Wooden graduation boxes. For a carpenter, these boxes seemed simple. But each carried an emotional imprint. The lid was engraved with the graduate's name. Inside were school photos and a personal note. The idea gained attention. Some city schools started ordering these boxes. After 2 months, his income increased. He didn't spend much. For him, wealth was not pocket money for soup, but knowing what he would do when he woke up. This feeling was a new luxury. 6-part facing the weight of the past. In the 5th month, Yitzhak decided to find his ex-wife Miriam. The number was still in his contacts. His fingers hovered over the keys, then withdrew several times. "What will I say?" he thought. But he called. The phone rang thrice. "Miriam. It's me." A pause. Yitzhak. Yes. I thought you were dead. I have much to tell you, but first, know this, I'm alive. And I'm on a long journey. Miriam's voice softened. I thought of you sometimes. But I didn't think I'd find you. I never left you. I just abandoned myself. A week later, they met in a small cafe. Miriam had changed. Grey in her hair, a tired face. But her eyes held the same expression, understanding. Fatigue and the shadow of the past. Their first conversations were short. Later meetings lasted longer. When Miriam learned Netanyahu helped, she was surprised. Why would a prime minister do this? Maybe to remember himself, Yitzhak said. By saving me, he's searching for what he lost within. 7. Part under the tree's shadow. In the 6th month, Yitzhak visited his son's grave for the first time in 14 years. He carried a small box with a handmade toy car inside, just like AVI childhood. He knelt at the grave, placed his hand on the stone. Tears silently flowed. You might think I forgot you, AVI. But you were in my mind every night. Maybe this city and world forgot me. But I didn't forget you. The wind seemed to listen. 8. Part Second Chances. At the end of the 8th month, Yitzhak was nominated for the city's on a program for social reintegration. The municipality decided to award people who had returned from homelessness. The idea was Netanyahu's. He quietly organized the event. On stage, Yitzhak's hands trembled. The crowd was large: students, journalists, volunteers. Everyone listened. I'm not the man who usually speaks here, he began. I was once a man sleeping on the streets, unseen by anyone. But someone met my eyes. A man, the leader of this country, looked at me like a human. Not just into my eyes, but into my heart. He didn't save me. He gave me a hammer to save myself. And I took that hammer. I struck not wood, but the chains of my past. Now, I am here because someone believed. At the back, Netanyahu watched silently, clapping with a small smile. To him, this victory was not a title but a conscience fulfilled. 9. Part Trials of the Heart. Months passed. Yitzhak was no longer a help recipient but a helper. The New Life workshop expanded to teach many crafts. At the same time, the path was thorny. One young man, Rami, a former drug addict, whom Yitzhak mentored like a son, stole tools one night. Watching security footage, Yitzhak felt stabbed in the heart. Rivka reminded him, you, too, were reborn with a second chance. Maybe he's still searching for his first. Yitzhak nodded. I know the road is thorny. But I will keep searching for flowers behind every thorn. X. Part Netanyahu's leadership and criticism. Netanyahu faced criticism from political rivals, some calling it PR. Others questioning why a prime minister focused on individual homeless people. Some cabinet members challenged him. Why focus on the homeless? Is this politics or personal journey? His reply, true leadership, begins not only in war or diplomacy but in the human heart. The future of society is measured by how it values its weakest members. The statement made headlines internationally. Praised by social experts worldwide. 11. Part A Gift of Gratitude. For Netanyahu's birthday, Yitzhak and the youth crafted a special gift, a table made of olive wood. On its surface was carved. You gave hope, it became a forest. You extended a hand, it became life. Forgotten we were. You reminded us, we are still human. The table took its place in Netanyahu's office, where important decisions were made. 12. Part The Global Voice. Invited by the UN, Yitzhak traveled abroad to speak at the Social Integration Summit. Holding his first passport, he said to Netanyahu, I was a nobody. Now the world will hear my voice. On stage, hands shaking, he spoke. My name is Yitzhak. I lived on the streets. When I found food in trash, I was happy. When a dog wagged its tail at me, I thought maybe I still existed. Then a man came. A politician. A prime minister. But he looked at me as a human. Not just into my eyes, but into my heart. He did not save me. He gave me a hammer to break my chains. Now I am here because someone believed. If there is hope for one homeless person, this world is still worth living. Standing ovation followed, some wiping tears. 13. Part Final Farewell. Years passed. Yitzhak aged but arrived early to the workshop every morning. Rami returned one day, remorseful, with a letter of apology. He became a lead instructor. One autumn morning, after breakfast with the youth, Yitzhak sat on the porch. Looking at the sky, he murmured, "I promised my son I would dedicate my life to others. And now, I think I am at peace." That morning, as the sun rose quietly, Yitzhak breathed his last. In his hand, a wooden carved star with one word. Faith. Epilogue, a lesson for Israel and the world. Following Yitzhak's death, many workshops and social centers named after him were established. Yitzhak Houses of Hope. At his funeral, Netanyahu said, "I thought I was helping him. But he healed me. When politics wear me down, when I try to escape the hate in people's eyes, his gratitude gave me strength." Yitzhak was not just a carpenter. He was a master of faith. He carved new lives from broken souls. It is now our duty to keep his legacy alive.